welcome in, everybody. How are we doing today? Gorgeous, how are you doing? Dobby, how are you doing? Little Thrusty, and how are you doing, Infested? Oh my god, my hair. Oh my god. There we go.
I'm good.
Let's go. Are we ready for this week? This week was crazy.
Yeah, it was. There were some predictable parts of it, but there's a lot of news that I want to talk about, and I know you do too. There's just a lot of really good baseball news, some bad news, Well, we can lead into that, figure that out.
Hell yeah, no, 100%. There's been a crazy lot of topics. Obviously, one of the biggest ones that kind of seems that it happened a while ago was Tampa is no longer perfect. We expected it to happen. I very much expected it to happen. But they are no longer a perfect team.
Oh shit!
Heaven sent keeping me honest. I did lose a bet. I have to not wear a hat today for the entire stream. Because Tampa beat the Jays in the last game. So. Yeah. I should have definitely not taken that bet, but.
Yeah, whatever. You don't have a hat. It's all right. It's all right. At least you didn't have to wear Tampa's hat.
Oh my god! I would that honestly, that might have been hard. I would have had to consistently only think about Kevin Kiermaier.
We I know we have a lot of show to do, but we do have both of our teams playing each other in New York this weekend.
Right.
It's one of my lists of games to watch, because I assumed we were both going to be like, hey, everyone, watch these two teams. So.
Oh, well, 100%. It's also a very good even if I wasn't a fan of the Jays and the Yankees, it is also a good game to watch.
Yep.
Because they are both top of their division, projected top of the division teams. Also, if the season ended today, obviously it wouldn't. They are projected to face each other in the first round of the playoffs for a 3-game series.
That would be a weird playoff, because it would basically be all of the East except for Boston in the playoffs. So
yeah. Very much so.
Which could actually still happen, but we got a long season to go.
For reals. So, obviously, the first thing I want to talk about, and it's been asked in chat, so let's get that off that off our chest first. Is Tatis Jr. is coming back today?
Yes.
He is actually. I think the game is starting. The game should be on right about in 40 minutes. The game should be on in 40 minutes. So, that's going to be in 40 minutes. He'll be playing his first game in a long time.
He raked in minor leagues getting ready. He raked I don't know what the last numbers were, but I remember telling you he was hitting over 500. He had 7 home runs and 13 games.
He hit in his last 8 games. I think I saw the stat earlier. He hit over 500, 510. Had 4 home runs. Had a 3-homer game.
He's definitely ready, and so to answer the person, I feel like he's transcended talent. I don't know, the suspension might hurt him or not, the fans booing him or not, but I think he'll be able to get past that. I think he's still young and still able to his game is very complete at a young age. And I do believe that he'll put up some decent numbers. I don't know if he'll do what he did in the,
Well, obviously we know he won't do what he did in the minors, but do you honestly think he'll keep up what he showed he could produce in the majors prior to what happened and his injury? Because it was also he also got hurt, and he showed us in the minors that he can compete at a high level, because the minor leagues is still professional baseball.
Right. So I'll tell you what, I put him in for my next period as a starter. He was then on my bench as a suspended player. I drafted him a little later. I've been waiting, and I saw enough of some of the highlights in the minors and stuff. I know you're not getting the same picture, but
Yeah.
when he was in the World Baseball Classic and he played good.
Mhm.
So in the level of talent in the World Baseball Classic was pretty high. So I feel like, look, I'm not expecting him, and maybe he'll change my mind, but he's going to be a
Yeah.
mid-level WAR player,
Yeah.
And for anyone that doesn't know, WAR is wins against replacement. The elite players get anywhere from like 8 to 12 WAR, which is an extra wins for your team through the season for the whole year. I think even with the little bit of time he missed, he may end up in the 5s and 6s for
Yeah,
the
well,
year, which is really good.
He was a 6 in 2021. He was a 6.6.
Okay.
His last in 2019 he was a 4.2. And but also he'll be playing outfield. So honestly, he a little bit different position for him because he was mainly a shortstop for the Padres. So like he could put up some nice seasons as an outfielder.
I think it could actually be good for him long term because
Yes.
what people don't realize is those infielders, they take a lot of abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And they that's why I see some of the all-time greats in the infield where they haven't had a lot of injuries. It's crazy to think about because they're doing a lot of extra dives. They got a lot of miles on their legs. They're getting balls and stuff hit off of them. There's a lot of abuse. I think, and I hope his time away last year helped him mature also a little.
Yes.
Because he was a young player and he was coming in. He's got a family of professional athletes, so he was a little bit more mature than most anyway. But look, he was 22
and
when he got suspended.
And a big contract.
22 when he got suspended. He's going to be 24. I know you're a little younger, but I didn't know what the hell I was going to do when I was that age. And we expect always perfection out of these young stars, and it doesn't always happen. So I'm hoping he learned from his mistake and he doesn't repeat that ever. But I think he has the talent to continue. It'll be interesting to see. We'll know quick because San Diego, and I'll talk about this later. San Diego's got some challenges coming up, so we'll see.
And like we talked about during the preview as well, with him being back, no matter what, he is good. Like you said, he is gonna be an above average player, and that lineup is stacked. But my other point for him moving away from shortstop, he really wasn't that good a shortstop. like in terms of I'm looking at the stats and negative 26 on total zone fielding on total zone rating on a fielding runs above average, negative 26 for his career, negative 9 in 102 games in 2021. He did play 20 games in right field, which is where he's projected to play, moving Juan Soto over to left.
He did have 21 errors in 2021.
Yeah. Now, at the same time, as we know, errors don't always say that you could have a lot more chances. But at the same time, he did have a 940 fielding percentage, and
I'm also going to help a little. Look, you actually see this in players.
Yeah.
There's two different, at least from my eyes, there's two different ways. They come out and then they're Gold Glove at first. Their defense first. They learn how to hit better as they grow. Or there's the players that learn how to hit first, or have that innate talent that they're just really good.
They're back,
and then they get better. So if you look at some of the players, they'll get those Gold Gloves later on in their career because they know how to put the work in and learn those little tricks of, all right, when this ball hits here, I can grab it here. Things like that. Or figuring out how the stadium plays.
Yeah.
Now it'll be interesting how he plays in the outfield, but you know what?
He's played it before. He played it in the minor leagues. It's not something new.
Is a little more forgiven.
Yeah.
For someone that has the speed that he has.
Exactly.
Even if you make a bad step or you don't, and actually I can even say, like today, the Yankees center fielder was Keener Falefa there. He just, they asked him if he wanted to play outfield. He really didn't play before, and he played it. And he in that game he made a couple bad steps, but he was able to rebound because he has the speed to
Mhm.
do it.
Yeah.
Now he doesn't have Tatis speed, so I feel like him being able to make up that ground in most ballparks is
Yeah.
going to be interesting.
Plus, he doesn't have to play center field. He's not going to be their center fielder. Like, he's played it, but he could play it day offs, but he's not going to be asked to play center field like all the time, which is a good thing for him. Finding comfortability, knowing where he's going to play, because like he's not playing on the infield.
It will be interesting to see how his body holds up through
Yeah.
the year too, because he hasn't played a full season.
Yes.
Because I mean, when he got the starting job, it was in the middle of 2019.
Mhm.
And then we had the shortened season in 2020 and then 2021.
He did play the whole season in 2020. To give him credit, he played 59 games.
Yeah. But I mean, what I mean, I'm talking about. Look, there's a difference between playing 60 games on someone's body and playing 140 games.
Oh,
on someone's body.
he got hurt in 2019. You're right. He got hurt in 2019 and then came back in June, and then got hurt again.
Yeah,
in 2019.
So we'll see if him switching, and they kind of were already starting to give him other places to play, like you said, in 2021 before he left. But it's going to be interesting. It just makes him more valuable too. I mean, I know he's got the contract, but that makes that contract more valuable because let's say their shortstop does go down.
Yeah,
they have someone. And I know he's not an elite shortstop, but he's serviceable.
He's better.
He was a starter.
Yeah.
So yeah.
He can play shortstop if anything ever does happen to Bogarts.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So it's just that extra ability, and well, if you do fantasy, you can put him other places too. So just think, I have him actually starting in my center field, or not center field, my shortstop. Spot. I did start him for next period, but so I hope he does well.
Yeah,
he could be that reason I start winning.
Hell, and that's always a positive. So the next big topic, I would say would be Domingo Germán and Max Scherzer talking to. Having their hands washed, one coming back and continuing to pitch, albeit noticeably a little bit less effective, but still pitched well, and one being tossed because his hands were still sticky.
Right. And so, and I'll reiterate, Germán, it was the one that got the pitch, and the actual manager got thrown out because he got to keep pitching. And Max Scherzer was thrown out, and actually there were stories about him possibly maybe getting a 10-game suspension over it. I'm not sure how that will play out. But
so his was rosin, though. We know his was rosin, and he specifically said, I did what I was told. I washed my hands with alcohol, and alcohol could be sticky.
Yes, and Germán, it was rosin too.
Rosin, okay.
And it was a similar situation where he washed his hands, and I guess he hit the rosin again, and it's. I mean, you're a pitcher. Do you use rosin?
I do not, but I do use dirt sometimes, which other pitchers do as well.
Right. So, I don't know if you want to explain that a little to.
Well, basically, throwing a baseball is all about grip, and especially in the major leagues, the biggest talk about pitchers is spin rate and getting that extra spin, which causes the movement on the baseball. Throwing a straight baseball to a professional major league hitter is going to result in a home run more often than not. So pitchers like to get some grip on the ball. The balls are already rubbed up with some dirt, but pitchers like a little more grip. Every pitcher does, even the ones that don't need any help, because it just helps with the force of throwing the baseball and the rotation.
And it's been a thing on and off. I mean, that was one thing Houston was known for, getting their spin rate up on their pitchers. And everyone's, you don't know how that happened. But I will say, like, Cole got a good contract, and I think he had to go back and relearn a little bit.
Oh yes.
Not that he didn't have the pitching skills, but he had to retrain himself to pitch back.
Well, but
you
also
know,
like the biggest thing,
effective.
the pitches didn't go where he wanted them in that it's specifically late in that 2021 season.
Yeah.
Specifically late. The reason he did not win the Cy Young was because in the last 2 months of the year, well, he was getting hit hard more often than not later in games because the pitches just didn't have the same depth. So like a pitch, if you imagine the zone like this, and the ball used to go right in the corner. Instead, it's falling just below. And for a hitter, baseball is a game of inches. That one little inch could mean the difference between a ball pop up to the second baseman and a 3-run home run.
And not even that,
Yeah.
it's that grip. I mean, it's for elite pitchers like Cole and Scherzer.
Mhm.
That grip, like you said, could mean a difference of Cy Young, not Cy Young,
Exactly.
or another 10 million is not time.
Yeah.
The standard pitcher, though, it could be the difference between hitting the batter,
Yes,
or not. So
yeah.
there's always a toss up about whether or not the grip.
No.
Because when it's cold, and it was cold the other day, they need to be able to grip the ball better. When it's when it's warmer,
rosin is allowed. The biggest thing is that I'm wondering, not a lot, but at the same time, you can't, as a human, when I play baseball and I get sweaty. I'm rubbing my hands on my pants. Like I can pull up my baseball pants and there are marks of all the mud marks of my hands just rubbing my pants, trying to get my hands clean so I can hold the baseball. And so rosin is also a drying agent. So if rosin goes on my wrist or my hands or in between my fingers, and it's there. Maybe I put it on the baseball. It's the one thing baseball gives the pitchers because everything else is not allowed anymore.
It's going to be an interesting it's going to be an interesting fight because it's about the integrity.
Exactly.
The fact that this has been an ongoing battle since the beginning of baseball.
Exactly.
I mean, everyone has heard of the spitball.
Oh, the
spitball. You put spit on the ball so you can throw it. Or, before they swapped out balls like almost every pitch now.
Yeah.
Maybe not every, but there was scuffs, and good pitchers in the 60s and 70s would learn how to use those scuffs to their advantage. Maybe they can grip it. Maybe they throw a knuckleball and they can put their knuckles better.
Don't even get me started on the scuffs. I play in a men's league. Man, I love when the new baseball gets a nice little scuff on it where my circle change. That ball just drops.
So here we have it, everyone. Rox cannot play a Major League Baseball because he's using illegal substances.
I would hang so many changeups because, man, I need those scuffs. I need them scuffs to get that extra movement.
And one day maybe you can show some grips and show off on a baseball because it is. I mean, I got sausage fingers, so for me I probably would have never been a pitcher because I know the process of it, but you have to be able to grip the ball.
Honestly, my height is literally the only thing that gives me the advantage. Some of my teammates, they can put their hands around a ball and do things with the baseball that I can't even dream of doing.
The split finger, to me, for some people, because they have the ability to split their finger that much, it's crazy, and consistently, without it, I don't know, my hand would probably seize up.
It's learned.
Yeah,
it's totally learned. So that's something we're gonna keep an eye on, specifically because it happened twice, and one pitcher, the umpires decided he had washed his hands enough, he was able to, and he didn't do it because they do check you every single inning. Yeah, they do check you every single, especially once you get a warning. They obviously checked him a lot more. Scherzer was thrown out because the umpires decided his hands weren't clean enough. Or were still sticky. And
what tipped him off in the beginning too, so that everyone knows, is that Major League has been starting to monitor the spin rate actively on pitching. So when spin rate of certain pitches all of a sudden spike,
Yeah.
it's signaling, hey, you should probably check this pitcher later in the game
Mm-hmm.
because we've seen a spike.
Mm-hmm.
So that will get more involved.
Yeah.
And that should be, I mean, look, if you're pitching, and it's a fine line because spin rate can fluctuate, but if you're seeing a consistent spike or just randomly and it goes back
Yes.
down, you want to look at that because
They
there
use
might be something
yeah.
at play.
They use an average. They use your average, and then if you're well above your average, then there's gonna be a check. And but like you did say, it was cold, and
Yeah.
both did both these incidents happen in New York?
No.
I know the Yankees one did. But
Yeah, that
that did, but I don't know about the Mets one. No, I think the Mets one happened in L.A. Were they in L.A.? Yeah, they were in L.A. The Mets one happened in L.A. So, but also it could get cold in
it
LA.
could have been cold in LA.
It could have been cold in LA because it's also nighttime in the ravine. It does get cold there. That cold air. So yeah, so we will keep an eye on this one because, like you said, he'll probably have a hearing or something this week or next week, and the decision for his if he gets suspended will we'll talk about for sure.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's going. I mean, they'd have to. So my worry about this, and I know we've talked about it, is that it gives too much final power to the umpires that are on that field beyond the game. If what they're seeing, if they haven't saw definitive. Now, what I will say is the umpire said that after checking them, their hands were sticky for innings afterwards.
Yes.
So it passed off. So, I don't know. I mean, do I believe Scherzer is more than capable of doing this? Yes, because these elite pitchers that want to get even better are going to use any possible way, and that's it's going to happen.
And also
they used to have ways in the hat and stuff, and
staying effective is also like staying effective. It's a cold night. You don't have your best grip on the baseball. Getting a better spin rate is a good thing. It's a good team like the Dodgers. or like you said, or an average pitcher trying to just have a good outing.
I just don't know how. My biggest thing is if they do suspend him, I don't know how they can do that because it's rosin. It's not like they found a non-allowed substance. So,
exactly.
Like, where is the meter that tells you? Because the rule does say you can't have a lot of rosin. But like, I don't know the actual name it says, but like, I think it's something as simple as broad as like you can't have an unnatural amount of rosin. Like, who determines that? That's exactly. Do we have a rosin meter? I don't know.
Well, also like you said, like it was said before, his hands were sticky afterwards, and it is a legal substance. So him getting kicked out of the game because his hands were sticky could be the reason. You put the suspension, he appeals it, they say there's no suspension. I think we're all fine with that. Personally, because of the situation, his hands were still sticky after he was told to wash them and make sure they weren't, and that's why he was removed from the game. I'm fine with that. I don't believe he should be suspended because it was rosin. If it was something else, totally different story.
Now, out of curiosity,
did
they lose that game? Was that the middle game? Was that the 18th?
That was the 18th. Yes, I believe that was the 18th.
So they did lose that game versus so I was just curious if they lost the game or if it didn't even matter because the Mets have been playing a little bit better too. So
I don't know. That was not that was the 17th. That was 17th.
So they did win.
Yeah, because Kershaw's 200th was the day after that incident.
Okay. So I mean, that's good though. I mean, not that being suspended, it's not going to affect them, but
yeah.
All right. So the other thing, I want to go right to another pitcher.
Hell yeah.
It's Madison Bumgarner. Has been DFA'd by the Arizona Diamondbacks, and he's had he was one of the, we talked about it, one of those pitchers where I was hoping he'd figure it out, and maybe he still can now, because what DFA means, it's designated free agent, so they're basically releasing him. They owe him like $30 million. So they release him out there, and any team can now sign him to the minimum contract, which I believe right now is like $2 million or something.
No,
Maybe
720,000.
Okay, I didn't know if it was the veteran minimum or if it was like so that's the base minimum. Then.
Yeah, that's the base minimum.
So pretty much any team will take a flyer on that because for major league for professionals that's no money.
Now the biggest reason why I don't know of any team that would want him to start would be his last 10 starts of last season. He had a 7 ERA.
Yeah.
Last 10 starts. And then
he's having a hard time figuring out how to adjust to the amount of innings that is on his arm. He came into the major leagues at 19.
Yeah.
And pitched a lot of innings in the first 5 years of his career. 5 or 6. They went deep. It was maybe even more than that. They went to 3 World Series, and he had to pitch, and he was pitching on 3 days rest a lot sometimes. He put on a lot of innings those first 5 or 6 years, and that's a lot of toll. He broke his arm. There's a lot of stuff that happens. So it's I do think with the right pitching and with the right pitching coach and team, now that he's had this little humbling moment, he might go to the bullpen. And bullpen's a little bit different because, he can try to figure stuff out, but he doesn't have to be as perfect for as long.
So my only thing is will someone take him?
I do. You think?
You do think? Okay, because in 2021, I talked about this at the same time. In 2021, he had a good walks and hits per innings pitched. He was decent. Even though he had a bad ERA, was on a bad team. He was decent. A decent walk rate, decent strikeout rate. So he was decent. Last year was not good.
I mean, look, if it's not a contender, which that could be hit or miss. Not everyone wants someone that unless their pitching coach, goes, hey, I think I know how to fix him or at least improve him, and they go to their management and they'll take that flyer. However, there's teams like the Athletic. There's teams with young players that bringing in a Bumgarner is great because his work ethic is still there.
Mm-hmm.
He's still got the experience. He's still a veteran player that can a winning history. That whether he's able to pitch himself, he can still help that roster.
So if you're the worst team in baseball, which is Oakland, do you pick him up? If he obviously wants to come to you. Obviously, the biggest question is...
I don't think Oakland does, and that's because of the next topic we need to talk about. But
do the Giants pick him up?
Like the Tigers or, even the Marlins, teams that have young pitching staffs or like the Pirates, or where they can get that bang too. Yeah. If they can, two things. If they can get a player like this, they'll get them. And let's say they can fix them this early. The trade deadline's coming up. They can swap them out and get some talent for them. Or what if it's getting another 1,000 people into the stands every game?
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely worth the money of the loan.
Selling a few jerseys to those diehard Bumgarner fans.
He will sign somewhere. I don't know. Like I said in the other episodes, I really hope he figures it out because I feel like he has too much more in the tank. He just has to figure out how to pitch again. Okay. And what I mean by that is you learn how to pitch a certain way, and you got to evolve as a pitcher.
You got to change.
It's changed on him so much, and sometimes the ego gets in the way. Being DFA'd is a good way to have an ego, get knocked out the door. So I don't think his was pure ego, though. He's still one of the best all-time playoff pitchers. I don't care what it was said. He is still one of the best ones. Of course. The innings and the shutdown that he did consistently from all those playoffs.
Of course. And of course, like the 2014 World Series Game 7. Like he is on baseball history. But like you said, he's not that guy anymore. And he hasn't fully realized how to pitch not being that guy.
We'll know.
Yeah.
By next episode
Yeah.
what happens then. Someone will pick him up within the next week. It might even be
Most
tonight.
likely,
Who
yes.
knows?
Most likely.
You know, something's gonna happen.
Uh,
Where
no,
do you have teams that you think he'd go to?
it'll take 3 days. It'll
That
take
would
three
pick
days
him up.
before he becomes a free agent, though.
Okay.
He's on DFA for 3 days, so it may take another week. Like for me personally, so I don't think he'll go to Pittsburgh. I think if any team's gonna pick him up who needs a pitcher, it'll be Cincinnati. It'll
Okay.
be the Giants because he's a San Francisco Giant, and the Giants don't need anybody, but he is like they're the top of the pile because he was a San Francisco Giant for so many years, and all his success was there. And like you said, the Tigers or the Royals.
Okay.
I think he would do well in Kansas City, big ballpark. Uh, and
And they can't. And to be honest, you know,
they have
even his
yeah.
7 ERA stream is buffering.
Oh, OBS just crashed.
Oh.
Okay, it reloaded. It reloaded. Wonderful. I think we are back, guys. I think we are back. OBS just crashed, but it tells me it's unstable. Okay. Yeah, we're back. We're back. We're back. Okay.
So I don't know where we left off, but let me say there are 2 teams in the American League that I think might take a flyer on if their coaching staff tells them that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them you're aware. I don't know how they managed to do it. A little of me is Houston. They seem to sometimes take these older pitchers, and I'm not saying 33 is an old pitcher, but these veteran pitchers,
Mm-hmm.
and figuring a way to they can have another life. And maybe he's okay being a reliever or a closer, if he figures it out. I mean, it's not like that hasn't happened before. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But one of the A's had a really great pitcher that did that. But anyway, I think if their coaching staff says let's take a flyer, they'll try to pick them up. I think they have the room on the roster to try to figure it out, and they can make that work. As a Yankee fan, I've been hearing a little things. The Yankees have a really young, pretty decent pitching coach, and they may look at him. I don't know if they'll pick him up, but they like to do those flyers that don't look for the Yankees. And I'll be honest, I understand money is important for some teams. The Yankees spending $700,000 is not going to matter.
Yes.
It's not going to matter to them. Especially since it's not technically 700,000 because that there's already a month gone, so it's even less. So they'll try. However, I think your teams, what you said, Kansas City, you'll be right.
Like I said, personally, I don't think he'll go to a contender. Personally, because of his recent track record, unless a contender needs a piece, needs an arm. I don't think a contender will be signing him. Especially those 2 contenders. I've looked at their bullpens, and the Yankees have a good bullpen. Their biggest question mark is their closer. Right now,
the only contender that I think look, I'm not sure about Pittsburgh. Yeah. Pittsburgh has a solid team, and we'll talk about the Central.
Oh yeah,
but they can tell me. What contender I think that he could fit in? Let's say he gets a little bit of back, and they could possibly use some pitching help right now. It's Philadelphia.
Yes.
Their pitching hasn't been what it should be, and if they think he could help a little, or maybe just another veteran voice in that lock. I know they don't necessarily need veterans, but sometimes you need people that win.
Well, he'll
know how to win.
He'll go to the minor leagues first. If he's getting signed anywhere, he's not gonna be signed and sent right to the majors. Even though he just Like, he can pitch right in the majors. He's still stretched out and everything. He'll sign, go to a team's spring training complex, get into the used to their organizational structure, maybe work on a thing or two, and then do some minor league games before he gets shot to the majors. So there's at least I think there's at least a month before he plays in the majors if he gets signed.
You think he'll go that route? I don't. So like, if a team is excited to have them and who it is, I don't know if
it depends. It depends on what you think. If he's gonna work on something, he's gonna go to their spring training complex.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
that's the best way to work. You don't want to work on it.
But if it's like if it's a non-contender,
however, if he gets like picked up by Kansas City,
he's gonna go straight to the
he can work on it right there
in the major leagues. Yes.
I mean, though Kansas City's issue, I mean, is a little pitching, but it's also the fact that they're not hitting. So that's, they need culture a little bit there. You know, it's and the fact, you know, we'll talk about the center. Well, I'll do it a little early. They're 1-12 at home, so you know they need something.
And their only win was versus Toronto in the opening week.
Yeah.
In like game number 4 of the season or something. So
the other story is about the Oakland A's. If anyone's seen the news, the Oakland A's, the ownership for that team has purchased a plot of land in Las Vegas where they're working with developers to build a stadium that has a semi-retractable roof. And they've said that they're wanting to move by 2027. So that's 3-4 years. That's basically as long as it takes to build a stadium is how long, you know, the funding and the building is how long they have. So they're going to leave Oakland. That's basically a decision. Now, I don't know what the rules are about if the other owners have to vote or if baseball's got a little more autonomy there, unlike other sports. But
I think baseball. I think this was something that was sort of decided based on the owner's actions, especially last season, raising ticket prices to postseason team levels. And what the owner has been really wanting to do was get the team out of Oakland, which sucks because Oakland already lost the Golden State Warriors. They already lost the Oakland Raiders, and now they're losing the Oakland Athletics. And
I mean, it's a fight. So Oakland's been pretty steadfast on saying they're not going to use. A lot of these places are not going to use public funds, and that's what a lot of these teams want. They want some sort of public fund to help them, or a way to make back the money. And you know, as much as the move to Vegas will be interesting, there and maybe they won't have a lot of fans rooting for their actual team.
Yeah,
they'll have fans in that stadium.
In the stadium,
because the thing about Vegas is that there's always people willing to pay tickets for other people. You know, there's so much that goes on. If you've been to Vegas, you know, you go down the street, people are like, hey, you want tickets?
Vegas is going to be a launching pad.
And that team will immediately change from a low a low price tag to one of the mediums. You know, they'll start spending more money after that happens.
Well, they better.
So it will shake up and you know, the AL West will be interesting.
Still sucks. I think still sucks for the fans of Oakland.
Who will benefit also.
Yeah.
And not that they have a hard time filling stands, but San Francisco will benefit a little.
Yeah.
Because they, you know, some of the people that might have been going to Oakland to catch some games will take the trip.
Go to San Francisco.
Over, yeah. I mean, it's not a quick trip, but it's quicker than going somewhere else. You know, so.
Now, I kind of do regret not going to San Francisco and Oakland when I was there in 2019. Hold on. Muted. Not muted. Not on my end. So then honestly, par for the course.
So we'll continue. We were just talking about the A's land purchase, and you know, hopefully we got some audio we can backtrack. But let's get into the substance anyway. I think those are the big news stories.
Exactly.
actually.
Well, I also do want to. I both. Well, it's kind of in the thing we want to talk about the hottest teams, and you did want to talk about something about the NL West. I did want to talk about the games we suggested at the end of last week because that was kind of important. That was kind of important to the week, personally. The games, the Texas Rangers
Okay.
took down Houston and then went into Kansas City and swept. Arizona. Arizona beat St. Louis, and Arizona is like their run differential is still bad, but because they also got their butts handed to them 14-5, so it doesn't help their run differential, and they also blew the game almost in the game they won 8-7 when it was 8-3 going into or 8-4 going into the last inning. So their run differential still awful, but they took 2 out of 3 versus St. Louis. And
Yeah, and that's, I mean,
San Diego lost almost every game.
St. Louis, though. I mean, look, St. Louis
It's not looking so good.
No, I mean, look, I mean, they have plenty of time to try to turn the ship. They have very talented players on their team. They also have really good coaching staffs, and their management will find a way, whether they have to sign, Bumgarner or something, figure it out. They'll write that. I don't think they will, but San Diego,
basically lost they lost the last game to the Mets on the Wednesday. They lost the Thursday of our podcast. Then they lost horribly.
They both 3-1 against the Brewers, which we're talking about the Central,
how hot the Brewers are. Yeah, we're gonna talk how hot the Brewers are. And then they lost again. Then they lost to Atlanta, who they had just basically swept. They won 3 out of 4 to Atlanta. In Atlanta, and then Atlanta comes to San Diego and kicks their ass. Like San Diego's confusing team right now.
So what I'll say is, the NL West right now, Arizona is the only team above 500 right now. And actually, to be honest, the AL West, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Texas, the only one above 500. And I don't think in the beginning of the season, I would have thought that the West on both of these sides were going to be the teams this far in. I mean, I know we're still only, April 20th, but that they only have 2 teams out of 10 that are above 500,
and also, but also playing well. Like the Dodgers aren't playing well. The Padres aren't playing well. The Astros aren't playing well. They just took 2 or 3 from the Jays, but they're not really playing well because they lost 2 or 3 to Texas. Seattle's is playing much better than when they started. And LA, well, I always write off LA because it's LA. The Angels, not the Dodgers, because
I mean, what I will say is that like the NL Central, or I mean the NL West. The Dodgers are the only one with a positive differential.
Yes.
Even though the Arizona has those wins, they're very close. But that differential actually is probably because of Bumgarner.
Just so like when they get beaten bad. When they win, they give up runs in weird ways, and they just give up runs like I said, the 8-7 game. I was watching that, and I'm like, bro, weren't they just crushing this 8-4? And now there's people on base and they have to get 2 outs. Like, it was crazy.
The AL West on the other side, they have. I mean, Texas Rangers are doing really great. I actually, I think, right now. I mean, I know it's April, but I think my prediction is coming closer to what it says, because I liked what they did
exactly
in the off season. The last 2 years too, and. I think it just took some time to get that lineup where it needs to, and the pitching staff has been shutting down teams. So
and like I said, and like I said, going into Houston was a good test for them, and then they had Kansas City, which they handled. So like they are playing the baseball we expect them to play. I'm surprised that no other team in that division is also playing well. So that they're leading the division by many games so far. Obviously, division doesn't really matter in April, but so far they're playing well, and like we said, we chose it for the game of the week, the games of the week last week, and they came out and took 2 out of 3. So I'm really impressed. And
Yeah.
well, moving on, because they did beat a Central team, we did leave the Central till last because the Central wasn't is always awful. If you guys follow baseball at all, we all know when we talk about the divisions that the Central is usually the weaker division. A part of the reason that they're changing the schedule this year, well, they did change the schedule, is that a lot of people complain about the parity in baseball, and that the AL East has to face 3 juggernauts that face each other. The West, when there are 3 good teams, you got the NL East, you got the West right now. So the schedule parity means that you play more teams. You play more of the teams in the Central. The Central gets to skate on by having an 85-win team make the playoffs when 90-win teams don't even have to like chug to the last game of the season to barely miss the playoffs. So this gives them a little more parity. And the Central so far is living up to the hype, especially the NL Central. And yeah.
The AL Central is a different story, but
it's more of the same. So let's talk about it first because we probably got a little more to say about the NL Central.
Yes.
Minnesota's done well. Minnesota's done well for itself. Like we talked about before, their pitching staff stayed well, their hitting stayed well, and they're winning the games they need to win when their pitching gives them good performances. Like they did lose 3 in a row, 2 versus the Yankees, 1 versus the Red Sox on Tuesday, on one of the weirdest walk-offs I have ever seen. The walk-off, I don't know if any of you guys see it. I will post that video on the bottom of the YouTube video, in the description and in chat right now. But Boston Stadium was designed in 1919 when it opened. And yeah, that's over 100 years ago, guys. And there's a little pole called the pesky pole, like very, very close. But apparently, the pesky pole doesn't actually say where the foul line is, because the foul line is where the stadium juts out into right field. That's not where the pole is located. So the ball hit right between the pole and past the yellow line, which is a fair ball, and the Red Sox win. So it was the weirdest walk-off ever. Also, because they gave up 2 runs in the top of the inning. It was a crazy game. If you guys want to watch a fun bottom of the 9th, bottom and top of the 10th inning, watch that game because it was crazy fun. Then they did beat Boston 2 in a row, so they're back on track. So I
will say, I mean, the AL Central. I took some notes because it's important sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Twins, like you said, are playing good. They split with the Yankees, and that's important. You know, that's not a serious loss. Just like it's not a serious loss for the Yankees splitting 2-2. But the top 3 teams, Minnesota, Cleveland, and Detroit, all in the last 10 games have gone 5-5.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not breaking away. Minnesota started the season better, so that's why they have a better record right now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still anyone's division over there.
Oh yeah.
I don't think the Tigers. I mean, the Tigers are going to slowly jigger, but Cleveland and Minnesota are going to battle.
Yeah.
Probably till the end of the season, unless something crazy happens. You know,
No, I believe they're gonna battle unless the White Sox come out of nowhere. But Detroit's probably gonna regress a little bit and finish a little bit finish under 500 or around 500. But Detroit is playing a little bit better than they were to start the season, which could be an indicative of a young team coming into its own.
It's true. I mean, they did lose the series to Boston though, and that's to me
a comparable team.
So no, just.
It's a comparable team though. Like I compare Boston with his pitching woes is comparable to Detroit. Boston does have a little bit better hitting than Detroit does.
Well, I was talking, and Minnesota lost the series to.
Minnesota, yeah.
But yeah, it's true. I mean, it's going to be interesting. The thing about, and I'll just throw this in. I hop all over. But the thing about Boston, which is the weirdest, is that they're hitting the ball. they just don't have any pitching. I mean,
Yeah.
I think they are like one of the top teams in the league in runs scored. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're fourth or
But
third.
yeah.
Total runs scored, which normally means, hey, you're going to have a better record than 10-10. But the
Exactly.
fact that they've given up probably some of the work. I mean, they've given up the same amount of runs as the White Sox and the Kansas City. I mean, I think they're 2 runs difference, but for the
most part,
for the
it's the
fact
same
of,
amount of run.
I mean, that's insane.
Exactly.
And,
so and like you said, and in Cleveland just lost the series to Detroit.
Yeah.
So like that, the Central Division like is gonna be a battle. For me personally, if there is any
mediocrity.
for me personally, if there's any team to watch, it is gonna be Minnesota. Minnesota, because Minnesota is probably the best team out there. And honestly, like I keep saying, Carlos Correa is the best player on the team and has to step up. But they are getting good performances from their pitching. They're getting good performances from its overall team. They got a series coming up with the Yankees. Starting on Monday.
Yep, so, Monday through Wednesday, and that's actually my AL Central. Well, I mean, it's one of my games to watch.
Yes,
that series, because you'll get to see what Minnesota team. Normally, Yankees have played Minnesota really tough, and Minnesota loses. I mean, they have been the Yankees' punching bag. I think Minnesota's lost the Yankees more than any other team, or something like that. I think I remember seeing a stat. I'd have to double check that. But so if Minnesota plays the Yankees tough, they can take that through, and it's a 3-game series. It'll be
and Minnesota did, like, in Yankee Stadium, they won. They, like you said, they split the series. Right. So let's go rate it. They took the series. They won the first 2 games and then lost the next 2 games. So for me personally, that is a good indication of, hey, they could beat this team. And now they're going to be at home with their fans. It's a good drawing series. It's going to be a good test for them to defend their home court.
Yeah. And then the Yankees will be off of the other other thing we told you about, the Blue Jays. So we'll see. I will give a shout out. The Yankees are the only team in Major League Baseball that has yet to lose a series.
Mm-hmm.
So they've split a couple, but they have not lost a series. So that does mean that even with all the troubles, they're still putting up some good wins. So that's all I care. So.
No, it's a very good point. It's a very good point. Honestly, there is no other team that I really want to talk about in the Central, for the AL Central. Cleveland, like I said, Cleveland is there's no, they haven't shown me anything yet. They're playing Miami and Colorado, so they should, maybe we'll talk about them next week. If they do well against Miami, Colorado.
We'll get to talk about Detroit and the White Sox and Kansas City. I mean, the White Sox may surprise us and get better.
Yes.
But we'll be able to specifically talk about Detroit and Kansas City as the season goes on, because I feel like you'll start seeing some younger players get, figuring it out as the season goes, and we'll get to talk about individuals.
It's also something I do want to discuss in this podcast a little bit later, maybe after May, to see where some of the players that we think were going to have good years, are they having them. And one of them is Detroit's first baseman, Spencer Torkelson. I want to see what he puts up this season. He's a nice prospect. Like, he was a high draft pick, good prospect. I want to see what he produces, and so we're gonna talk about every team. Do not worry if we kind of skirt over your team. We will talk about them all, at least a little bit.
And if you really want us to talk about it, comment,
send us a question
when we're live,
or send us a question.
Yeah, we're pretty friendly. You can find us on Discord if you really need to. Just message us on YouTube. Send us a question and be like, hey, talk about my team, and we will, because
exactly.
Because I'd love to be able to look over and see the lights light up on the phone that I don't have. So they're all calling in, but
we just gotta go Twins. Let's go. Well, we were go Twins. So to be fair though, the best Central division is the NL Central.
yes, and actually one of the best teams in baseball right now is out of the NL Central.
Exactly.
The Milwaukee Brewers have put up a they're hitting actually pretty decently, and their pitching is basically shutting down teams. They swept Seattle. Now, granted, Seattle isn't the best team, but you sweep any team right now in the beginning of the series, in the beginning of the year, it's important because all the teams are trying to figure out. Then they went 3-1 against San Diego. Now, we were talking about San Diego maybe figuring it out, and I think with Tatis they'll start hitting a little better because that's their issue.
Hopefully,
but going 3-1 against what everyone thought was a superior team is great. I mean, they their last 10 they've been 7-4 and they're on a 4-game winning streak. So
and it's all been on the road.
Yeah,
they have played 13 games on the road.
Yeah,
10 of them
in 6 at home. So
and 10 of them in a row because the first 3 were on the road. And then the first 3 were on the road, and then 6 of them at home, and then 10 on the road. And they've gone 9-4 in games on the road this season.
It's true, and they have 9 games in a row at home. They play Boston, they play Detroit, and they play the Angels. Now, I expect them to handle Detroit, and if they don't, that's going to ask some questions.
Also expect them to handle Boston.
Boston's hit or miss, but since Boston can't, Boston's been hitting. So if Boston hits against the Brewers, then maybe because they could probably out hit the Brewers right now. Yeah. However, I don't know what to get. They're home, so it's great. The Angels against the Angels later on, and we'll be in our second podcast. But
we'll talk about that then. Yeah,
that. What we see in these next 6 games, if they handle those, they're going to have probably close to the best record in baseball.
For me personally, like I said this in my season preview, if they do the first month, if they are leading the division after the first month, they are in a great position because their first month, yes, they based on the preseason, they were facing the Mets, the Padres. Are the only 2 teams that we thought were playoff teams. Now, yes, they had to face the Cubs, who have been pretty good. We'll talk about the Cubs in a little bit. They had to face Arizona, which they did lose 2-3 to Arizona. So, but they, like you said, they swept Seattle in Seattle. So if they win these series against two subpar teams and an average team, they're going to be the best team in baseball.
And the thing is like all of the Central, we're talking about Milwaukee because they're 14-5.
Yes,
but Pittsburgh is 13-7,
and
they actually have a positive differential.
Right.
And I know I always go back to differential, but knowing how many runs you score versus how many hits, how many runs you're allowing over the course of multiple games, it's an important factor. It gets you to know how the team's doing as a whole. And Pittsburgh is one of the hottest hitting teams in baseball with runs scored, and their pitchers aren't doing as well, and that's why I do think if they get a veteran in there, they can shake a little stuff up. But the Cubs have the best differential. Yeah. They've had some bad luck in some games. But I mean, they're still 11-6. I mean, you take 11-6 over the course of the whole season. You'll take a 647 win percentage. That gets you in the playoff.
100%.
So we could see, if these teams continue, we could see 3 teams, which we were not thinking was going to happen.
I was thinking
3 teams from an NL Central go to the playoffs.
We both predicted 1.
Yeah, yeah.
We both said possibly Milwaukee. I personally did not think the Cubs would be this good this season.
I,
I like so I'm gonna be honest with you. I did not think Dansby Swanson was gonna put them over the edge. I did not personally think Marcus Stroman was gonna come out of nowhere and put up a 0.75. Marcus Stroman's a great pitcher, but he is that like I hadn't seen that in him, and he has been on fire,
I
leading
mean,
that staff.
I will say, I will say, I have both players on my I have both
uh,
players on my fantasy league. And Swanson's actually starting. Stroman is there, so maybe I knew a little, but I didn't think it would affect their total package. And
yes.
it will be interesting to see if they can continue
Mhm.
to dominate the other parts of the league
Yeah.
the way they have, and
I don't think the Pirates will. The Pirates did score. The Pirates did really up their runs, scoring 28 runs in 2 games, and then if you had the 5 from the other game, they did score.
I mean,
They would score 33
out of those
runs and
three
gave up 9.
out of those three teams, they have the highest run allowed. They're at 83, which is a lot.
Yes.
Milwaukee and the Cubs have been shut down pitching.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel that if that continues, and you never know, it's hard to tell, but if that continues, it's one of those things where you're talking. They are one of the best teams because they're
Yes.
gonna win games. You stop other
Yeah.
teams from scoring, you're gonna win more games. That's just
Exactly.
how it works.
Exactly. And like you said, the disappointing team in the division is definitely St. Louis. And
Yeah.
I had predicted St. Louis to win the division, unless I had specifically said this, unless Milwaukee gets off to a hot start.
Okay.
So Milwaukee, like that was my caveat. If Milwaukee doesn't get off to a hot start, it's going to be St. Louis. But
I still think St. Louis is going to turn it around.
me
Their
too.
pitching has been less than I am used to from that
Oh,
franchise. So
yes.
we'll see what happens there. It's still early and it's
100%.
tough. It's tough to tell, and I know it's cliche to keep saying it's still early, but I'll keep saying that until the middle of May. Maybe
Exactly. Honestly, for me,
then
it's till the end of May.
what
Yeah.
type of players and pitchers, because you would have a bad April. That happens to players all the time. They just have bad months. And sometimes, especially for pitchers, sometimes it's just the weather. You have some pitchers that just do better when it gets warm.
Or just one bad start. One bad start where you just get hit, you don't have your stuff, and they see the baseball. And it happens, and it's early in the season, and there's time to fix the mistakes, there's time to have good starts.
I'm impressed with the NL Central. That's what I'll say. I mean, Pittsburgh split with the Dodgers.
Well, exactly. So
or
for
St. Louis, I mean, not the Dodgers.
St. Louis. For me though, this week, I'm looking at the Cubs. The Cubs are having LA at home for 4.
Okay.
And then they're having San Diego in for 3. Now, I keep saying, even though San Diego's not been playing well, San Diego has one of the most nameful lineups that you so they are always going to be a test no matter what their record is. Plus they have the starting pitching to back it up. Even if they're not playing well, they are still a challenge. And if the Cubs are going to be legit, this is the time to be legit, because if they can hold their own against the Dodgers and the Padres, they got Washington and Miami. In Washington and Miami, so yeah, they're going into enemy territory, but it's Washington and Miami. Miami's playing a bit better than advertised and having good pitching, but Washington, so like if they can win some games against the good teams, they can also stay with Milwaukee if Milwaukee stays hot as well.
So the problem with the Cubs is that they're going to play the Dodgers, and it's tied right now. But the problem is that they need to make up ground with the Pirates, and the Pirates right now have a 4-game series against the Reds.
Yes.
So the Pirates are better than the Reds. I'm going to say that out loud.
Yes. Oh, 100%.
They're going to beat the Reds probably more, especially since it's home.
Yeah.
They're going to beat. They may sweep them. I don't know for certain.
Probably 2 out of 3 at minimum. They're going to win the series.
But then they go against the Dodgers later in the week. So it's we'll get to see how these two teams, the Cubs right now and the and then the Pirates, how they match up with the Dodgers, how they play against them. We'll be able to see which one of those two will probably come out on top, at least in the beginning. It will be interesting. I don't know when they play each other though. I think it's not for a while. This I will say it's a little annoying, the new scheduling, because we can't just say, oh yeah, they're going to have games. We don't know when the next time
we
play
don't.
each
Well,
other.
yeah, because the
it's not
schedule
until June, so we won't see the Pirates and the Cubs play until June.
Which by then the Pirates might have just been already fallen a little out of favor. But like I said, the Pirates are playing well. The run differential is now positive. But the Cubs are the better team. The Cubs are literally, based on from everything from last night, 4 runs behind Milwaukee and 4 runs ahead of Milwaukee in runs scored, and have the same runs allowed. So, and that's pretty goddamn good. That's pretty good. Now Milwaukee's also played more games. Milwaukee's also played 19, and they've only played 17. So they've also allowed a few more runs, but also scoring more runs per game. Right now, I think with St. Louis, we're gonna give St. Louis an opportunity to come back because they're a good team, and we have Pittsburgh. Like I said, Pittsburgh needs to prove itself, and also beat. And
they're young.
Pittsburgh needs to beat, like you said, Pittsburgh needs to sweep. If I want to take Pittsburgh serious, I'm a Pittsburgh fan. Like I'm a Pittsburgh fan. You guys have seen me dance around my Pittsburgh jersey. If you guys have been in the stream before, but like I'm a Pittsburgh fan as well. They're my 3rd favorite team, and with Andrew McCutchen back, like I'm feeling some good vibes over there. And if they can take care of Cincinnati in a 4-game series, at least win 3 of those games, and then like you said, they held their own with St. Louis. They held their own with Houston a little bit, but not much. Like if they can take 2 out of 3, or at least make the games against the Dodgers at home in Pittsburgh, then we might have something to talk about in the Central. Another dark horse team there.
So, if I was the Cubs, however, I'd worry a little about the Brewers more, because
100%.
Their starting pitching isn't as good as the Cubs, but they're figuring how to win, and their bullpen is doing what it needs to. Now,
it's top tier.
If their starting pitching starts picking up, then they could run away with that division, because not that they could win more, but they could lose less. Is what I see.
Yes.
And the ones that so it's going to be interesting to see how
they are also running a bunch of rookies. Now I know Garrett Mitchell's now on the 10-day IL, but they got Joey Wiemer on the team. They got Bryce Terang on the team, Garrett Mitchell. So they're running a bunch of rookies. If any of those guys get hot, because none of them have really popped off. Bryce Terang is doing pretty well. Like I said, it's a little early to see what the rookies are going to give you. But if any of them really pop off, that could also change their offensive production. Because right now, like you said, they're finding ways to win, even with not the best pitching. But at the same time, overall, I see their pitching as better than the Cubs.
I mean, they have. I mean, outside of Wade Miley, you do. I mean, because right now they're not pitching like they're better than the Cubs.
Yeah.
I wanted to go double check.
Team pitching though. Team pitching though is still they have a better ERA.
Well, and that's because of their bullpen. The starters,
have been
So what Milwaukee starters do well is
Mhm.
strike out
Mhm.
players, which can help. I what I will say is that, and this is going to be a fun two teams
Oh,
when the Cubs and
100%.
Milwaukee go, because even though Milwaukee's considered a small market team, they have historically reached out and traded and gone for it to try to
Mhm.
be competitive, because they're not like super small market. They'll invest, where they see the gain, because people go out and watch those
And
games. They
and
they get a draw
yeah.
there, so it's not
Yeah.
like they don't put people in the
Well,
stands.
and that was the big thing. That was the big thing I was talking about at the beginning of the season, is that if they don't get off to a hot start, they might need to consider trading away their stars. But if they're off to a hot start, you could see maybe an extension coming up. You could see a trade coming up. Now, maybe not an extension because like they haven't been historically good. But like so, but people on teams do know that I might just not just sign somewhere just because we're starting to play baseball better. But you could also see a trading maybe one of their young players for a veteran on a contract, or just a vet to smooth over any rough patches they need if they continue to be leading the division later on into the season. So yeah, this is you have a very good point there. This could be a nice little battle between the Cubs and the Brewers
and
for the Central.
and like I said before, I didn't think we'd be even this excited to
Mm-hmm.
potentially do it. I mean, look, I just went, and I know it's all the way in June, but if these three teams still figure it out and are going back,
Yeah.
they all play each other a bunch of times. Pittsburgh specifically plays Milwaukee and the Cubs
Wow.
twice. There's like 9 or 10 games right there in June that could,
That
that's
could be
balance
that could
shifting.
be something.
If
That could be
one
something.
team
Yeah.
is hot, if one
Yeah.
team is hot at that time, they could be, that could change
That could change
the
the
whole
whole.
division. So,
Exactly.
um, it's going to be that now they have to try to stay consistent. And
Yeah.
what I said about the Yankees, these three teams have been winning series, and if
Mm-hmm.
you win series, you're going to have a winning record. That's just
Exactly.
how it is.
So that's
You
baseball.
don't
Two out
have
of
to
three.
sweep. Now sweeping's great because it's it's fun,
Mm.
but you don't have to sweep to still be one of the best teams.
Yeah.
If you just are consistent, then you win.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
And I fully agree with you there. You win every series. You win every series. You make the playoffs. That's baseball. So like for me personally, the games of the week for me for this division is we got Pittsburgh and LA to see if
okay.
LA is gonna see if Pittsburgh's a real team, and obviously and then we got the Cubs entire week, the LA and San Diego. Milwaukee, like I said, Milwaukee we know is a real team. At the moment, Milwaukee is a real team, and they got nothing to prove to me. They're also not facing anyone good, so you watch them if you like Milwaukee. But they're not a game I've because like they're most likely gonna win. So the Cubs and the Pirates are the two teams that I would say to check out this week in the Central.
I'm smiling and laughing because we both know what that meant when you said that, because
Yeah,
they're playing the Red Sox, and
yeah,
we're both basically just
yeah.
until they show something, because they're. I mean, I don't know. I don't like talk. I just, if
Uh,
they had. So I'm glad they don't have good pitching, and I'm glad they
me too.
didn't figure it out. And why does my camera not like me?
Because your camera's a Red Sox fan.
We want you to watch both the Jays and the Yankees. Watch the Yankees beat the Jays.
Where's the hang up button?
I had the Minnesota and the Yankees, but the
Yes. No, but that's a
um
good series. The Minnesota Yankees. I like
the,
obviously we both are Jays and Yankees fans, so come on, the Jays and the Yankees is a series you guys should watch because we're both fans and also both good teams. Even though it's not the Central.
but one we didn't talk. If you catch a game from
Yeah.
this series, doesn't have to be all of them. But Tampa Bay and Houston are playing each other in the next week. So
Okay, not bad.
and
If you don't, because yeah, you might not be able to catch all because the Cubs are also Central Time.
yeah,
So
not everyone's as crazy as us that we have
yeah,
multiple games open at some time. But
Yeah.
the Tampa Bay Houston, Tampa Bay's been on a hot streak, and figuring out from there like how they play because it's in Tampa. It'll be interesting how that team performs because they're going to be playing. Houston will be playing against the Braves before that away. But they're on a six-game road series, and they could go further into the hole, or they could show the rest of the league that they're still a comparable team.
Exactly. Well, yeah, because like we said, someone needs to make a move in that West for the end of the month. You always like to end off the month nicely, and this is going to be ending off the month.
Those are two first place East teams, one in NL East and one in AL East. They have to play them back to back in their stadium.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. I think for Houston's sake, they better not lose both of those series.
No, exactly. I agree.
That's going to be hard for them to gain even more ground because they're already, they're already 3.5 games down. I don't think Texas is going to have an issue. I think they're going to win their games because they're playing the A's and the Reds at the same time. So, there's a possibility that the Rangers go 6-0 and the Houston Astros go 0-6. So if that happens, that will be insane. But there's a possibility. So I'll throw that out there to just keep an eye on as pure baseball fan of looking at different teams. So.
Hell yeah, no, 100%. Like basically, what we want to tell you, we want to give you guys some good games. And if you guys have a chance to find a game, there's also a lot of times there's a free game on MLB.com which you guys can watch for free. So if one of the games we've suggested you watch is there, check it out if you'd like.
You got Amazon Prime; they do a weekly game too.
Exactly.
Your broadcast stations. So,
or if you have Apple TV, there's going to be a game on Friday on Apple TV, which is the Yankees and Blue Jays.
The downside is that if you don't have all these, sometimes you can miss out on some of your teams if you don't have a way to watch them. So,
but feel free to ask us. If you want, we'll talk about your teams. We'll talk about those games. And I will also post a video to the film room, which you can watch recaps of every game if you'd like. The film room is a great way to watch baseball highlights, all in one little place.
So, the Red Sox beat the Twins. We're not done with the night. 11-5 today.
Yes, did they score 11 runs in one inning?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's what I thought I saw.
No, they scored 6 in one of them. It's spread out. In the third, they scored 6 runs, so they had a couple crooked numbers. The Yankees started today out 5-0.
I saw that.
Winning, so that'll be interesting to see. The Padres are playing the Diamondbacks again. So
and Tatis is 0 for 2 with one strikeout.
That's why I started him after. I'm hoping he gets the rust on this game, and then his next series the next 3 games he just opens it up, which will be great.
Hell yeah! No, like I said, the team's winning. The team's winning. We'll see if Arizona can come back, because like I said, that's also a big game. Arizona versus San Diego, good divisional game, good test for Arizona.
So the free game today was the Rockies and the Phillies. So that's great. But I think, is it every day there's a free game?
Every day. Every single day there's a free game.
Now, it could be blacked out, if you don't,
Oh yeah, if it's a local team, it could be blacked out.
Tomorrow's is tomorrow's the Cardinals and Mariners. And yes, the Mariners, they're both 8 and 11 teams, but that could be some decent late night baseball if you're in the West Coast and
is that in Seattle? Is that in Seattle?
Yes, it is. So
that'll be late night baseball. Yeah.
Yeah, it's we'll see. Anyway, hopefully we have the news that we talked about somewhere. But if not, Scherzer might get suspended. Bumgarner,
Might
who
get
knows?
signed because he
But,
still has a couple days on DFA. I think it's 3
who knows
days.
where he ends up? But
Yeah.
hopefully by the time we do this next one, we have a little bit of set. The A's want out of Oakland and are making that happen by buying land in Las Vegas, and Tatis will get to see what type of player he becomes as after coming off of a suspension. So, that was a little recap in the beginning. So, all right.
Oh, hey, well that was pretty good. Sorry for the technical difficulties. If
we kind of go fly by night, we want some structure, but we did our thing. We hit every division now, so
yes,
we might talk about different things next week.
Yes.
Or we may pick a couple divisions. We'll figure that out, but
also next week's is not guaranteed for Thursday.
Yep.
Next week's it might be a different day, possibly Wednesday. If we'll talk. I'll you guys, if you guys are in my Discord, you guys will know when the podcast will be. I'll be announcing it in my Discord when I have a set date. It'll be an FSO.
That's Fat Marble Fest, right?
No. I'm just doing. I'm not. I'm family things, so I have to move.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
Marble Fest is coming up though, right?
It's on the weekend. Yeah, it's on the weekend.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, no worries. So yeah, the next podcast will be to be determined. But it most likely will not be on Thursday.
That's fine.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
We will figure it out.